Hi, I'm Mark Scherer, the CEO and founder of Encompassing Life, and this is the Wellness Revolution podcast. What we're doing here is we're interviewing people from the alternative medical, and we're finding people who have a new way of doing things that bring forth health on our planet. Most of the medical model is, I consider, broken. So we're looking for people who are really out making a difference and cutting edge. And on the show today, we have Ryan Cleland, and he's from Infinite Wellness. And we're in Illinois again?
Edwardsville, Illinois, just outside of St. Louis,
Just
Missouri.
outside of St. Louis. And what's the weather like out there?
Actually, finally good. Cooled off. We had rain for the last 2 or 3 days, so the humidity's down, and now it's hopefully now it's fall. I hope.
Awesome. And you've been a chiropractor since 07, I believe you said?
2007.
So whatever, 14, how many years?
That's 17, 18
13,
years.
17 years. 17 years. What had you become a chiropractor?
Unfortunately, I don't have any great stories where a chiropractor saved my life. And it was kind of interesting, though, when you start chiropractic school, probably about, I'd say 30 to 40% of the class had these amazing chiropractic stories, so much so that their life was changed by a chiropractic experience. I had a friend that was in chiropractic school, and I was a bioorganic chemist, and was not loving my life. Was looking for something more, and was looking at graduate school. And once I got into chiropractic and reading about it, it jived with, the body heals itself if it's in the proper state. So that type of philosophy kind of resonated with me, and so we got into it, and that's history.
And what you said you were doing before that? You were taking bio?
I was a chemist, so I was a bioorganic chemist for one of the big chemical companies here in the United States, and I guess internationally now. But
A drug company or a chemical company?
no, it was a chemical company. I'm sure they have their drug components. I was doing more raw materials, things like that for different
Gotcha.
chemical.
So you worked at the lab with them, or lab guy?
Yeah, I worked in like a huge chemical reactors, 500-gallon reactors, etc. Just
Gotcha.
I'm a big guy, and so I can move 55-gallon drums around fairly easily. So
I majored in chemical and petroleum engineering. Worked for
yeah,
a chemical plant for a number of years. Hated it.
yeah, it was interesting for about 6 months, and then I realized I figured most of the processes out, and so there wasn't a lot of learning after that. It was just production, and so it got pretty mundane fairly quickly.
And you're taking a very, when I read your questionnaire, that you really put a lot of emphasis on having on God in your practice as well.
Yeah, well, so if you really look at chiropractic, I mean, chiropractic is all about what's called the ADIO, above, down, inside out. And so that philosophy is that healing comes from, actually, when you really get into at least the way that I've learned it, is all healing comes down from God down into the body and inside the body and out, and it's expressed out through the body. And so you can also take it internally from above into the brain, down the spinal cord, from the inside out to the organs, et cetera. And so that ADIO mindset kind of stuck with me, and is, even now that we're into more of an integrated practice, I just still always try to enhance God's design, right? God's design, usually in health, if we don't interfere with God's design, our bodies will express health. It's when we start to interfere with God's design, whether that's through nutrition, where we eat chemical foods or are exposed to toxins, or we have toxic thoughts or toxic movements, our bodies will break down, and our bodies will eventually create illness and disease.
Now, have you ever heard of the law of the cure?
No.
Healing occurs from the inside out, from the head down, in reverse order from which the symptoms appear, due to the physiological, psychological, spiritual, mental preparedness of the individual.
That's chiropractic principle right there, man.
I know. As soon as somebody has uplifting thought or experience, the healing process begins.
Oh, absolutely. was pretty cool. We had a professor in chiropractic school. He would test the strength of your, like, just there's different types of applied kinesiology, different types where they'll test strength of muscles, and then they'll challenge it with different things. That he would actually say negative things to that person and test the strength of their arm, and their strength would actually
Well,
decrease
knock down. Yeah.
with that. And then he would build them up again verbally, and then that strength would instantaneously be
Go up.
restored. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah. And you're talking about toxicity. The body produces chemicals that are toxic and chemicals that are life giving.
Right.
So you said, toxic emotions. Then toxic emotions produce toxic thought. I mean, toxic chemicals in our body.
Sure. Yeah. It's like they always say that God is smart, right? But the problem is that we're in this chronic stress, or we're in these chronic things that our bodies are not designed to be in. It's kind of that fight or flight mechanism where
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be running from the tiger every day, 24 hours a day. And when you ultimately get into that state, then the body becomes it's almost not attack itself, but that proper mechanism to, or that proper response to get you away from the tiger, is now an improper response, because now it's a chronic response.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And the body's repair system is repairing what the toxicity the body's producing, so it doesn't have the bandwidth to take care of anything coming in from the outside world. It's too busy repairing what the body's already producing inside itself.
yeah, no, it's you kind of look at it as a bucket of toxicity, right? You have toxic thought, you have toxic movement, you have toxic chemicals, whether that's through just breathing or nutrition, etc. And there's only so much the bucket can handle. And
Yeah.
so, um, and once you look at physio or neurology, more importantly, you actually start to learn that whether it's a chemical or whether it's a negative thought, whether it's a negative movement pattern, or even negative chemical stress through food or exposure, actually when it gets to a specific level within neurology, your body doesn't really differentiate that anymore.
Hmm.
It's basically nociceptive input versus a proprioceptive, which is a positive input.
Yeah.
And that nociceptive overload basically creates disease, like you said, disease.
Mm.
And then the body breaks down over time, and when you have disease for a long period of time, then you create disease, which is going to be all your things that everybody ends up with, their diagnoses and their.
Yeah.
And then the problem is, as we all know, at least in the, when you said alternative healthcare space, which is sad that we have to say we're alternative when we should be mainstream.
Yeah.
You have that toxic overload, whether again it's movement, chemical, or thought. And then what does everybody reach for, right? They reach for something again outside of their body to try to cure something that's an inside problem, right?
Yep.
And so you're trying to find a chemical to heal something that has created some degree of toxicity in your body, and you're actually putting something toxic into your body to solve a toxic problem, which doesn't really make sense.
I have a special present for you. Gold star.
I was gonna say, what is that? A big thing of chocolate?
Well said, sir. Well said. That was awesome the way you explained that.
Yeah, it's like I said, there are some great chiropractors before me that have broken it down into just this entire neurological model, and it's amazing when you start to see it. I mean, just the pathways that are affected within the brain, and then how it ultimately results into, like you said earlier, disease. And long enough, it creates chronic problems that will bankrupt our country, and bankrupt, what is it, 67% of the population in the United States is going to go bankrupt due to some healthcare problem.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
it's it's it's
Yep.
sad. And then we want to give everybody free healthcare
Yeah.
instead of, which basically in their model, it's free drugs, right?
Right. Or here's a way to end your life early because you're too expensive to continue to pump money into.
Well,
Yeah.
like we say, I have one of the docs here at the office, it's like they're not making any money off of you when you're healthy. And it's sad that you see the current model that we're in. I mean, their goal is to get every child, you know, it's not even addicted to a medication, it's addicted to a mindset where it's an outside in approach. And so when you're trying to, like we said, if you're trying to fix an internal problem with an outside approach, you're not going to ultimately fix that problem,
Mm-mm.
right? It's like again, there's food by God, there's food by man. Food by God heals, food by man creates illness and disease, right? Um, proper, being a chiropractor, proper motion, proper, that proper proprioceptive input through the joints, the spine, etc., creates health. The alternative, improper motion, sitting all day and not
Mm-hmm.
exercising and having misalignments of the joints of the spine, etc., creates a neurological problem, which ultimately creates a physiological problem, aka disease. And
No. Even the
it's the way.
word subluxation means
Yeah,
reduced light. And the scriptures, God is love, life, truth, and light. So you're reducing the flow of God in your life.
absolutely. I
Yep.
mean, that's it. I mean, above, down, inside out. That's how God heals.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's a saying in chiropractic: God needs no help, just no interference. And so, if we can remove the interferences, God will do the healing, right? And in our practice, we've integrated with medical, but we still keep that philosophy true because we use things like regenerative medicine, stem cell, ozone, which is oxygen, things
Right.
like that helps to just stimulate the healing process to just kind of give us that boost we may need because of the damage that was done from whatever, whether it's a movement issue, again, an immune system issue, things like that, to where we can use still things that are natural, even bioidentical hormone replacement, things that are natural. I mean, these are things that are in our body. We just are starting, you're low in vitamin D, you take vitamin D, right? If you can't get enough sunshine, you're low in vitamin, I always say vitamin T, like testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
It's your body starts to, why would we not increase that if we can do that naturally in something that's bioidentical? So just, you never want to, and that's, just thinking of like hormones, right? It's like medicine tried to get into that and they screw it up because they want to make money off of it, which I understand. But to make money off it, they have to take that substance and they have to change it enough so that they can sell it. And it's not like vitamin C, they can't market it because they can't make it differently to do what vitamin C does. And so
Right.
hence why they don't have that as part of your cancer treatments, even though it's proven time again, high dose vitamin C helps
Yep.
to alleviate your body of cancerous cells, right? And be careful saying cure anything, but it's you're restoring proper
E.
function of
Yeah.
the body by restoring proper health to the cells. So
Yeah. Yeah. The synthetic stuff. If you look at what occurs naturally in nature, and the synthetic product that they mark as a drug is basically a reverse copy of it. So instead of having a spin one way, the synthetic product has a spin the other way. Synthetic.
right, sin
That's
with
right.
an S on the end, huh?
Yeah.
Woo,
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yes, it is.
Well, again, I mean, when we were talking previously, it's like that those synthetics will, if you're working against your own biology, you're creating bad physiology and you're going to bad, negative
Yep.
thoughts, negative functions, and you're going to create sickness and disease every time. I mean,
Yep.
you're interfering with God's design. It's like that's, you think of a cow that eats grass. It's absolutely, grass fed, grass finished cow. It's absolutely healthy. You start feeding it stuff that it's not designed to eat because we want it to get fatter. We want to make it, we want to, make it grow faster. Now that thing that was so healthy for us is now unhealthy for us.
Hmm. Becomes toxic.
So it
Plus,
becomes toxic and negative fat or bad fats and toxic and inflammation and all the things because again we've gotten away from the way that God designed it to be in the first place.
well,
Anytime man gets involved, they usually screw it up.
I believe every time, but
Yeah, it's
and
very rare. It's very rare when we think we can do it better. Not very rare. It never happens when we think we can do it better than God. It always
no,
backfires.
no. Well, we've discovered here in the last, I've been studying for 35 years, is the cause of all disease. We used to say, and back in the 70s, they said stress was a cause of 95% of disease. And I think they went up to 98% at one time. Now you don't see those studies anymore. But back in the 70s, those studies were out. They were talking about how stress was a cause of all disease. Well, what we've discovered here is the stress is anytime somebody believes they're separate from God, and
Absolutely.
that produces a stress. And um, and somebody can believe they're separate or that we're all one here, but it has to exist in the person's body. Otherwise, they have a reactionary response rather than trusting life and trusting what's happening for them is actually in their best interest. Anytime I've worked with a lot of people and they go, "Oh, I really love God. How's things going in your life?" Well, I'm stuck with money. My kids are doing this. I'm getting a divorce, and life is really hard. It's not fair. Whatever somebody's saying about life is a relationship to God. Period.
It's makes complete sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And then and then that's victim mentality stress is what's creating all the issues. So, working with changing somebody, helping somebody change their emotional state is one thing, but some of these patterns are chronically put in and they've been passed down in lineage after lineage after lineage, some of these diseases or conversations. So to really shift those things, they require, you know, different chemicals, not the synthetic stuff, but in scriptures it says, if man is low in faith, feed him herbs. So herbs were designed to help increase the person's faith, and then once the person began to take action in their new healed state with their increased faith, then that's what it would heal them.
Yeah. I mean, there's energy in all things, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you have the positive energy that you take in from those natural, just eating an apple, right? I mean,
yeah,
that life giving life, right? And that
yeah.
living apple, not to get, not to confuse it with Adam and Eve, but the actual apples at the apple orchards,
Right,
right? That
right.
aren't heavily sprayed with chemicals, et cetera, et cetera. But um, yeah, I mean, the chiropractic principle, again, we do a lot in our practice, but the chiropractic principle is so true. Like you said, it's all stress. It's how you eat, move, and think.
Yeah,
And those three things, if one of those legs of the tripod are off, it all goes to hell. And it's
hmm,
just that's where, like chiropractors or, you can't have one without the other. You can't eat right and exercise, but have a crappy mindset and be healthy.
mm-mm.
You can't, you can't eat right and have a great mindset, but just sit around on your butt all day long and not move the body. I mean, that's why God created joints, right? So the body can move. We're not built like potatoes, so we're not rolling around. Like all of these things, they feed one another, and proper motion and proper nutrition feed the proper things into the body to create proper mindset. Obviously too, the way you think and what you focus on, your connections, like you said, with God, which makes complete sense. It's like all of that thing. That's the holistic model, right? We want to say like I'm a holistic practitioner because I talk about nutrition and I crack backs, but it's like there's so much more than just that alone. That's a part of it, right?
Hmm.
But building, like creating, making sure that the tripod is truly foundationally is strong is going to create true wellness and true vitality for the person. And it's just, and again, but you think about like where we're at as Americans, and really maybe even internet, like worldwide, is like the powers that be want to remove us from that. They want to take God out of it. They want us to look to, like when I was
Yep.
talking about kids, like I had a patient, a little girl, and one day she coughed. This was years ago, and she coughed. And she's like, and she's like, "Oh, I need some medicine." And I think she was maybe 2 or 3 years old. And I was like, "No, honey." I was like, "That's healthy.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can express symptoms. It's okay. Like you need an adjustment. You need to eat right. You need to exercise." Like when my kids, I mean, we basically, I can't remember. I think it's like 6 pillars or something like that. But it's like, we got to eat right. We got to exercise. We got to drink clean water. We got to get good rest. We got to pray. Um, Obviously they got to get adjusted. I mean, that just
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense,
Absolutely.
you know, and And so those types of things, it's like you lose one of those,
Yeah.
then you're missing something, right? I know the three: eat well, move well, think well, but it's like chiropractic and exercise, it's just, I don't know. It's just, it's all so, and we want to separate it, right? We want to think it's all chemical. So then we
Hmm.
go to reach for a medication, again, outside of our body, something that was not here 200 years ago. Well,
Hmm.
you know what else wasn't here is, all of these quote unquote genetic problems that we're trying to force into these genetic wedges.
Right. Did you
They
ever
want
read
to
it?
figure out how, I mean, how many times is cancer? I mean, what is it? Less than 5% of all cancers is considered genetic,
Right.
and we want to continue to keep looking for the cancer gene, and we can continue to look for the, the obesity gene or this gene and that gene. And it's like, these genes don't change. Like the genetic code doesn't change. That, I don't know if you've ever, like, Bruce Lipton and
Yeah, absolutely.
genetics and,
He says
and just how
genetics.
life.
He says DNA is malleable. DNA changes. DNA is a history of in DNA is stored the history of traumas of our lineage. And in scripture that says the sins of the parents will be passed on to children for 4 generations. So the only way those things can be passed down is through a genetic mutation. So if you can mutate DNA down, if to downgrade it, there's got to be a way to upgrade it, right?
Amen.
And with gratitude, love, appreciation, being authentic, respect. And one of the words that one day I was sitting in my office one day and I had a brand new feeling coming in, and I was like, what is this feeling? And I heard reverence, the word reverence for life. And I just went, what? I just started crying. No one taught me reverence for life growing up. They taught me life sucks and life's a bitch, then you die. It's like a turd on a bicycle tire. Same old crap comes around again and again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of what I heard, what I was raised in as a kid. I'm like, why are
Same
people
shit,
talking?
different day, right?
Yeah, same old shit keeps coming around again and again.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
it's sad what the patterns that we've all learned them, right? And
mhm,
you just hope, like, I've got two kids, and we just hope that we help to try to break those patterns and don't just continue that cycle, right? When
yeah,
you start to learn truths like, eat well, move well, think well, those type of mentality, just trying to instill that into your kids, that you're not broken. God did not create junk.
uh-uh,
That's one thing. It's like, God did not create junk. Like, you eat an apple, your body's going to start healing immediately. Like, you stop smoking today, your body starts healing immediately from
yeah,
that, because your body is always craving the healing. It's always trying to heal. So if we just put our bodies in a state in which it can heal
mhm,
and improve, it's going to just continue to heal. Whereas, again, we just have to remove the interferences,
yeah,
whether they're mental, whether they're physical, whether they're whatever it is, right? And so if we can remove those interferences and allow our body to express the healing that it always wants to heal.
yeah,
I mean, if you cut your hand, it heals. You don't have to
yeah,
sit here and think about it. I don't have to think anything special. The
uh-uh.
body is craving the healing.
As
And
long as you don't pack it in a bunch of crap or something, it heals itself.
that's right. That's
Right?
right. But if you look, like, if you think of people, like, so, like, we'll have people with wounds, in their legs or things like that. And why does that healing capabilities reduce? Is because their bodies they're breaking down, they're sicker, so
Yeah,
they're getting less blood flow, less oxygenation to that area. And over time, and it's less nutrients. And so if we can, all you have to do to heal those wounds, it's not to, you don't have to put something on it. That's not going to heal it. You need to get the body healing. So increasing nutrients, increasing oxygenation, increasing blood flow will heal that, because healing flows through the body always. But when the body is restricted, whether it's vascular, whether it's nervous system, whether it's, I mean, whatever could be blocking it, then it's not getting those nutrients, those life-giving nutrients. Again, within the blood, you have stem cells. Within the blood, you have cytokines and macrophages, all these things that help to stimulate the healing response. White blood, it's
yeah,
constant life flowing in and out of every single cell and every single thing. And as long as that life is flowing through that body, again, whether that's through, like you mentioned, subluxation, through that nervous system. I mean, it's
mhm,
proven. You cut a nerve off to that whatever end organ, that end organ dies.
yeah.
right? And like you take, people want to remove this organ or remove that organ, and that's going to help you heal. But it's like, but you have to, like, if you take a live body and a dead body, what are the differences? Every organ's the same. They weigh the same. That person dies, their weight doesn't change. It's that energy. It's that life-giving force that's put into us
Mm-hmm.
by God that flows through us, that flows above, down, inside out. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Hey,
so,
hey, Ryan, what type of services do you offer in your facility? Because I can tell you got a lot of passion about what you do. With as much knowledge as you have, it only comes with passion, dude.
so in our office, so obviously we do chiropractic. About 5 years ago, we started to go down a journey. I wanted to get into regenerative medicine. We were finding patients that had a lot of breakdown in their physical body, right? Because matter does have limitations. Once it gets to a certain point,
Yeah.
you may need to assist the body, and because if it's been breaking down for 80 years, if we want to get a response in a year or 6 months, we may need to help it along. So we brought in regenerative medicine into our practice for joint care, et cetera. And as I've aged, I'm 45 years old. As I've aged, I start to look at myself. I'm like, man, this hurts, or why, I'm not healing as quickly as I once did. And so I started looking into different things. That's how we got into bioidentical hormone replacement. Started seeing those numbers on me. So we have that in our practice. We help to restore that vitality and that youthfulness back to the body naturally through those bioidentical hormones. And so it's just, we use that. We do some weight loss to help people get back to, reducing the inflammation in their body, and get them back to a healthy weight. And so bioidentical weight loss or bioidentical hormone replacement, weight loss, joint care with regenerative medicine, including like peripheral neuropathies that are just destroying people's lives. It's like one of
Mm-hmm.
the fastest growing physical ailments that you
Wow.
just see because so many people have their blood sugar out of control, their vascular system starting to break down. They don't know what to do. And they're just being led down the wrong path by, well, get on more blood pressure medication, get on the
Mm-hmm.
statin, get on all these things that we're gonna improve that number on this, that, or the other, but we sure as hell aren't gonna help you get healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, you might lose a leg, but at least your blood pressure's lower.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, if you have any effect, if you they always use the word side effects, but really it's not side effects. The effects of this drug may include blindness, death, shedding yourself, whatever, right? They put that
Right.
little word side in front of it so to lull people to sleep.
Right. Well, you have your desired effects and your undesired effects. I mean, the side effects are the undesired, whereas the effect is the desired effect. Yeah, we may lower your cholesterol with a statin medication, which they just throw into people left, right, and center. But not to worry. I mean, we're probably going to end up causing Alzheimer's and dementia and muscle wasting and heart weight. Don't worry about that. Your cholesterol is going to be lower. Although that number has not really been proven to actually
Right.
save your
Right.
life or reduce your risk of heart or like a heart attack.
Right.
If you ask anybody why they're taking their cholesterol medications, it's like, because I don't want to have a heart attack. Well, you listen to the whole commercial? It's
Yeah.
not been proven to reduce any chances of a cardiovascular event.
Right.
Yet it's like number one or number two. That and depression medication, which is basically just screwing up your body chemistry even worse, which is, what do they test? They don't even run a test to do that. They just
Huh.
say, oh, you're sad? Here, take this. They don't look at the physiology. They don't look at the biology. You say, oh, well, you're 40-year-old guy, your testosterone's 200. Maybe you just feel like crap because your testosterone's low,
Yeah.
not because you're low on antidepressants.
Yeah.
And so there's just all that, so.
Yeah. That's awesome. You get real passionate, man. I like it.
Well, man, I just honestly, we're just being lied to. We're getting ripped away from God, and we're just, people are just think they're broken. They think that God
Right.
abandoned them. The only healing we're ever gonna get is through this medicine that's doing nothing but creating toxicity, and they create more and more crap. And they think they're gonna come out with something new next year, and they're gonna do this study. And every time they do the study, it's never working because they're never attached to the problem. The problem is like you said, they're ripping us away from nature,
Yeah.
whether that's
Yeah.
positive thought or positive movement, positive nutrition, and they're trying to put toxic chemicals in there to
Yeah.
fix a problem it can't fix.
Mm-mm. So, how do people get in touch with you?
Well, I mean, if they're in Illinois, just swing into Edwardsville and we're here. But I mean, we've got Facebook. I mean, you can Facebook, instant messenger me, Ryan Cleland. Um, I'm the tall brown haired guy, but you know, email
And how do you spell your name, last name?
Cleland. So, first name's Ryan, but I'm on social media. You might see me out there. I've got some TikTok stuff, whatever. But it's like ultimately, we're getting into just the goal is to, even if I can't help somebody, I hope I know somebody in their area that we can get them help. Right? It's like it's not about like there's a lot of docs like me that are passionate that have practices similar to mine that can help and make a huge difference. And so we're just always trying to just help people get well, pull them out of that sick care model and get them back into actually, putting them back into, that healing state of
Awesome. Well,
physiology.
well, thank you for being on here. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. I love your passion, love your fire, and now I can understand a little bit more about why the picture is over your right shoulder.
That's from my wife. That
I
was a
know,
good one.
and you got the passion and fire of a Viking warrior, dude. So I think you're doing great. Thank you for being on the show.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
All right, man. God bless.
All right.